Hello, courage. Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Today I called Denver, Colorado home, and I love Denver, Colorado. Yeah, I have a great life. I have an amazing husband that I get to partner with at home, raising our amazing, soon-to-be 16-year-old child. Oh my gosh, how does that happen? We get to play in the community in nonprofit work, in our philanthropy. We own a lovely house. We have a great lifestyle. I own my own business, getting to do what I love to do every day. Working with people and helping them to be the best them that they can be, and working with their organizations to help them achieve what it is that they're after. Pretty perfect. Except the raw, the real, and the relevant, perfection is an illusion. Nobody's life is perfect. Mine certainly hasn't been. About a year ago, I heard this concept called Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi came out of the 15th century in Japan. It's a really interesting concept. It's so enmeshed in the culture in Japan that it actually defies some definition. It's really hard to describe it. But when I heard the word, I liked it. It's kind of fun to say, right? Wabi-Sabi. When I looked into it more and more, the thing that really struck me is the idea that artwork, if something is broken, a piece of art is broken in Japan, they wabi-sabi it. So what they do is they don't look at it as broken. They look at it as if there's an opportunity to create something even more beautiful out of it. So they take a broken piece of art and they inlay it with gold. Or they take a shattered vase and don't look at it as broken. They look at it as something to create something even more beautiful out of. I love that. There's lots of elements of wabi-sabi I could share with, but the thing I want to go to next is the idea that wabi-sabi really values authenticity and courage. Two of my favorite concepts, authenticity and courage. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm from Kansas. I love Kansas. I like my cowboy boots. I like cowboys. Tight-fitting jeans, usually. I like rodeos, barbecue, country and western music, and I love The Wizard of Oz. Particularly, I like that cowardly lion. I believe it takes a lot of courage to live a really fulfilled and amazing life. I know it has for me. Jean Houston writes in her book, The Wizard of Us, that even coming and being birthed takes great courage. I was born in Kansas in a small hospital. I was the fourth baby born there. And as the story goes, my mom carried me. I love this story. Somebody told me once they call pregnancy the 5-star womb service. All your needs are met, right? And then you come into the planet, overwhelmed, and they take you away from your mother. I was taken away from my mother. I was put in an incubator. And I managed to reach down as a newborn baby on that first day and pop that umbilical cord off. My mother says, "Thank God that nurse found you and saved your life." And I was thinking, hell no, I'm not going. That's like this. That wasn't fun, and I'm not sure the rest of this is going to be much fun either. Go forward 10 years. I had a good family, a loving mom and dad. I had a brother that was older than me, 18 months. My dad suffered from depression, and he was an introvert. But I was a daddy's girl. I loved my daddy. I was 10 years old, and I was heading to school, and we had this big front porch on our home. And I opened the door and bounded down those stairs. And my daddy says, "Christy, come here." And I turned around and ran back up those stairs. He said, "I love you. I want you to know I love you." Oh, perfect. I'm 10. My daddy loves me, and I'm going to school. It was good, right? I skipped all the way to school that day. That afternoon when I came home, my dad was home, and he was in bed, and he was sleeping. So I thought. I shook him, and I said, Dad, wake up. I want to go to Carrie's to play. He didn't wake up. I shook him again. Dad, wake up. He didn't wake up. This went on for a while. My mom finally came home. I was overwhelmed. Mom, something's wrong with Dad. Something's wrong with Dad. She calls the ambulance, and I'm on that very porch that morning he said, I love you, and my dad's being taken away in an ambulance. He had taken an overdose of medicine that day as a way to end his life. He did not succeed. Go forward 10 years later. Actually, let me stop there. He did not succeed. But as I stood on the front porch of my house in the reality of that confusing moment, what I know now as a therapist is disassociation, it was as if everything had shattered. And like the vase I spoke of in Wabi-Sabi, here I am in all these million pieces, right? He did survive that. Unfortunately, 10 years later, my dad did die. He died of a massive heart attack, and I was broken again. So what do you do when you're broken and you see yourself as wounded, or if you think that there's something wrong with you because things happen that are not perfect? I went to work. What we all do, right? You pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and I headed off to New York City. I was selling advertising, walking down Madison Avenue with my briefcase. I worked for a small ad agency out of Kansas City that sent me all over the country. In eight short years, I went from a girl Friday sitting on a floor drawing acetate maps to the director of sales. I had accomplished more than I could have ever imagined. I had my own house, my car, but I wasn't happy. How could I have everything that I ever wanted and not be happy? When I traveled all over the country, people used to say to me, where are you from? I'd say I'm from Kansas. So proud of that. Go Jayhawks. Yeah, I'm from Kansas. And then they'd say to me, where did you go to school? Well, first they'd say, where's Toto? But where'd you go to school? Horrible shame. In all of my accomplishments, I'm like, I didn't go to school. And somewhere in that time in my life, I decided it was time to pick up some pieces. I called on the courage of that cowardly lion. Hello, courage. You guys are going to remember this, right? Hello, courage. Such a significant mantra for me. Hello, courage. I quit that job, took my 401k, and decided to go to college to be a social worker. I know. People thought I was crazy. Cray-cray, right? Really crazy. But I want you to know that journey of, as Dorothy would, following the yellow brick road, right, and looking for the Oz, and looking for the land of Oz, or looking for that wizard, probably in cowboy boots. Sorry, it's funny. The wizard in cowboy boots. I picked up those pieces, and I went to school to be a social worker. And when I graduated, I started working with women with low incomes that were transitioning from welfare to work. And through my work in that nonprofit sector, I was able to pick up many of the pieces, not only from my life, but from generations of my life and my family's lineage. I learned so much about myself in empowering women. I work with an organization serving men's mental health and suicide awareness and prevention, the Carson J. Spencer Foundation. And through that service and that work, I picked up so many light points of the dark days that I spent with my dad in those depressions and in his suicide attempts. I also volunteered and served with many spiritual leaders and people in the community that I felt were making a difference and helping people to understand the inner knowingness of who they truly are. And it was through that work and service that I actually started to illumine my own gifts and my own inner knowing. And through my public policy work, my organizational work, I really come to understand that together we can do anything. We've all been wounded, and nobody lives a perfect life. But for me, the Wabi-Sabi of my life is service. For a moment, I want you just to tap into your body, and I want you to have a moment of remembering a place in you that you feel like is not so perfect, that is not the ideal, or even a wound. And for this moment, I'm going to ask you, would you be willing in this moment to put your hand on your heart, bring in some love, shine some light, be courageous enough to love yourself in all the faults, the flaws, every aspect of it, because you are a masterpiece. You're a masterpiece like no other, and you are needed. And I'm going to click my little ruby red boots 3 times, and we're going to 1, 2, 3. I'm going to say, I love you and welcome home.